especially with taking care of ourselves and taking breaks and things.
I see that.
Especially with taking care of ourselves and taking breaks and things.
Priority master. Priority master. Oh, we lost Albina. Okay.
I can try to help with that. I can do the value tracking as well.
Okay. What about the storytellers? I don't know this.
So that's just writing a paragraph at the end of the session that describes what happened, or a few sentences. Yeah. Kind of like at the end of every buddy team session, you write what you did. We're gonna start doing that for our main sessions.
So you write what you accomplished during the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We are going to field.
You want to check in?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to check in, or do you want me to check in?
7. I just checked in before when I was waiting for the people. On at 7, it has been long since joining the session due to internet problem. Today I'm glad to attend the session. Look forward to learn more. I've been working on stuff coordination. Stuff coordination. No, a bit. Can you check in?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm maybe like a 5. And it's the middle of the night here. And I've been working on Mission Within, soft hard stop status updating, budgeting, overall planning, and Vienna's taxes and Zachary's taxes, which is also client work, and lots of worker coordination and recruitment. Yes, check. Cool. Does look like we've lost Albina. So we'll just have to continue onward. So the next step is attendance.
And then
so it just looks like the three of us. So let's add you to the communication group. And remember, if you can't make it, you can still check in on Skype. And then we go to our strikes. Can you do old world strikes? So this would be for first quarter moon. It says that everyone was invited. Did Zonad respond? Oh,
no.
so he did. It says he did respond. So it says the only person that didn't respond was Abdul.
Okay, maybe they'll not respond. I don't know.
And Zilu's not going to be available, and so it's just the three of us. And it says Mamoon might be available. Oh, Zilu might be available. So we just have one strike, which is for Abdul. Okay, so I mean, I think that's it for the New World strikes. And it looks like we have pretty good schedule for the rest of the month, and it just looks like the three of us for pretty much everything. So, I mean, I would say that it's a little odd that Zilu wouldn't schedule for any global sessions the whole month, so we should ask him about that. Especially since he doesn't really communicate and work too well during the sessions, but maybe we could ask him if he's planning on coming to any of the global sessions over the course of the month. Okay.
No, I don't. Yeah, we will ask. I don't know why. Maybe he has his own reason.
Cool. All right. Well, anyways, I think that looks good to me. So, anything else on the New World schedule? Could you do the Old World schedule?
Next step after that.
Can you do the Old World schedule, please?
Old World?
Yeah, can you update the Old World schedule for the strikes?
Okay, let me get into that.
Okay. And I'm going to go on to our rankings. So for the rankings, I believe it is myself, and then Albina, and then Lucy. So let's take a look at the value tracking. All right, so we have Albina's check-in here. Says that she's been work involved, verification, main better team about verification, scheduling, and session responding, hoping back immediately. We have internet issues in the whole area. Okay. All right.
So I give to someone who is not present.
What?
On strike, we have Steve O, Jessica. I give them 1 strike per person.
For what?
For not attending the session on all schedule.
Did they respond?
Invitation sent, yes. No. Steve responded. He's not going to attend.
So what's the strike for?
Put 3 strike for.
What?
Jessica not responded.
So Jessica would get a strike if she didn't respond. So the only reason you would get a strike is if you didn't respond, or if you said you were going to show up and you didn't show up.
Okay.
Cool. So you and Albina have exactly the same actual average pay? What,
I don't know.
what is your actual average pay?
For this month?
Yeah, well, it's just your average actual pay.
I don't know.
Okay, well, that's a problem. All right, so can you estimate your pay?
For which month?
For your current pay. Or for your highest average monthly pay.
You mean hourly?
Yes.
Hourly rate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2.1. Let me confirm first.
So you're getting paid less than Albina?
Let me confirm.
So you still don't know? I mean, can you just estimate it? I mean, this does not have to be exact. I'm just asking you what your pay rate is. Do you just not know?
I'm trying to get.
So you have no idea how much you're getting paid? You can't even estimate?
2.74.
So less than Albina?
I don't know for Albina.
Albina's $2.99. Anyways, we can review that more later. All right, so let's go on. So I think we're done. Any questions on the value tracking? We could do some network equity if we wanted to. Do you want to spend a little time on that? I'd be down to do that.
On where? On equity?
Yeah.
We still need more to be done there.
What?
Any more thing to be done on equity? You can just move on. Unless if you need to add something here.
Oh, look, Albina's finally back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Do you want to check in?
I did on Skype. Or can I repeat it?
Or if you have anything else you wanted to add, we read it, so.
Nothing.
Oh my God, okay. Well, we went through all of the attendance, communication group strikes, and rankings, and then we were going through the value. Rankings, we had myself, and then you, and then Lucy. Value and team equity, we did that and updated it. You were gone for like a little bit, so you know it's a little bit less on your side, but and then we had Lucy at 2.74 and you at 2.99 for your actual average pay. Although we're probably going to want to double check on that eventually on all of these. So we can start doing the network equity spreadsheet if we want to do that real quick. Do you want to spend a couple minutes on that?
On the value or on what?
The network equity? Is that okay to spend a few minutes on it?
Yeah.
We've never done network equity before, and we can start doing it now, which would be good. So this would be the 70. Also, who's doing timekeeping?
On team equity spreadsheet, I came back after 20 minutes. Is it 75 already? I don't think so. So it should be 11:25.
Say what?
It's 11:25, not 11:75. Start time 11:25 because we are 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so this is going to be 70° east FDN worker organizing network equity spreadsheet. So we're just getting started with this, so it's still very new. I would say that there's a lot of different ways to do it, but the simplest way would just be like name. And here we have Lucy J. Albina. And then you put the sessions. So this would be new moon, 8th moon, quarter moon. And it could be the other way around, but so if we go to here, today we're estimating network equity. So this is global core team for the new moon. Albina, Jessica. Oh. Let's try that again. So copy and paste values. Huh.
I think you copy wrongly or it has a formula.
There we go.
It has a formula.
So there is a slight difference for one person. So let's make sure we get that one right. So that was Jessica's a little bit less. Okay. So then, did anyone attend the 8th moon?
The previous one, no. This one we do.
No one attended the 8th moon?
We did.
Okay. Do you know how long you put into the 8th moon?
Was it 1 hour? No.
Okay, so if you look at the quarter moon, so it's where's today's equity? So today here we've got 7.38. 7.38. So if you take that and then you divide it by 2, well, no, we divide it by 4, right? So the divided by 2 would be weekly, and divided by 4 would be every 2 weeks. So it's every 1.8 days. No, that's not right. It's going to be 3.69 days. Okay, so it's not exact. If we want to try to get it a little bit more exact, it would be like this. 3.69, blah, 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 blah. So this would be for the 8th moon sessions. So it would be equal to 1 hour. Well, it's just 1 hour, so just be equal to 3 hours. You said both of you did that? Was anyone else there? Zilu or anyone?
No, it was only me and Alvin.
Okay. And then we can estimate for today, which is right here. And I would just go ahead and make this yellow because it's still, we don't know exactly. Will be okay. So you would have full moon, then you've got seasonal. Then I think we have maybe third quarter. And didn't you say there was like a Venus session or something?
Yeah.
Venus session, and then possibly even Earth session.
And Albina still responded to all the session, but you did not update it there. Which one? He responded to all the session that Zilu was sending for all of the month, but you did not put it. Put where? On the schedule. When we're tracking, you put no, he responded.
That spreadsheet is where someone is going to be on time. Read up there. On time? No. Scheduled? No. They respond, they will not. So if someone is not coming, it's just going to be a no.
So the total number of network hours would be 305. Right, so all network hours is 305. So then what you end up with, and obviously this isn't fully correct because you would still be adding in the normal. So you add in the full moon, seasonal, third quarter, Venus, Earth session, and then you add your normal 70-degree hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then at this point, you would put everybody's hours in. And these would all just be normal hours, so only worth 1 hour, as opposed to, 1 hour of the 8th moon is equal to 3.6913 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then if you add that all up, you get everybody's hours, and then you add in the total number of hours overall. And then we're going to get a percentage equity. Is equal to total divided by all. And boom. And that's going to be a percentage. And that will be the same over there. And that should add up to 100%. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Although there is going to be, it is going to be the similar to, so this would be initial equity, and then you have community equity. So this would be 75%.
Yeah, the bottom of the hour with the same thing.
Oh yeah, so let's do this. Let me just finish this really quick. So we have the calc for 25%. So this is going to be equal. Actually, we're going to do 33.33%. 33.33%. So it's going to be 66.6%. Is equal to that times that. Cool. This is percentage equity. All right. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let's make sure it adds up here. I'm not sure if I have the right number. Why doesn't it work? Adds up correctly, it's just not showing. Oh, that's wrong. S2. Okay, cool. So for the first time, we had some network equity.
Mm-hmm.
you guys have any questions about the network equity?
No.
Does it make sense in terms of how to calculate it and keep track of it?
Yeah.
So we would do this for the 70° east half year, but we would also do it per month. So
this is for the 70°. Every session under 70° will come in this spreadsheet.
Yeah, and then we'll do an additional month, and then we can just add up the months. And we could do a quarter one, but it doesn't matter. We just do the half year. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll do one for each month, and then we'll do one for the half year, and then we'll have our network equity. So it's pretty cool, but it really helps give a perspective of who's actually contributing for what time periods. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so I think that we are done with our equity. And the only thing that could be added here would be some normal hours. I mean, we do know that there are normal hours that people have worked. So we could do those in real time, but really just at the end of the month, we just add up all the hours because it's really simple because we know exactly how many hours people worked at the end of the month. And then we pop it in there, and then that'll be done. Because network equity is primarily about attending the global sessions, because the global sessions are worth so much more value than just your normal hours. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so I think that is it on our value. And the other thing here to note on the value is that we've only had one session for each, right? So, for example, the new moon session, we've only had one, but once we have multiple new moon sessions, then we'll continue to be calculating the new moon team equity or the global core team equity and the steering team equity. We've only had one steering session so far. And again, we do all of our value tracking per half year. Okay?
Okay, what about first quarter moon and last quarter moon? Are they separate? We do separate or just on the same spreadsheet?
Quarter moon would be quarter moon. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's not necessarily the quarter moon. It's actually the steering team.
Yeah.
So, for example, when we have the new proposal that the steering team becomes full moons and new moons instead of quarter moons, it will double the value of the steering team. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So it will actually change the value of the steering team meetings because we're changing the time period.
Yeah.
If that passes, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so are we ready to move on, or any other questions on that?
No.
Okay.
Lucy, you had a question on scheduling. What was it? Lucy.
Lucy, are you there?
Yeah.
You had a question on scheduling. I didn't get your question.
Which question?
You had a question on scheduling about responses and everything.
No, I was just saying like when someone responded, did that person still getting strike?
Who got a strike? I
What,
think no one
did they
got a
respond and say that they were going to attend?
No, I'm not going to attend.
Yes,
So,
then you put no.
So then they would get no strike because they responded and they said they were not attending, and then they're not here, so that's correct. It's fine.
So why then I see here we have strike?
Which one?
Or this accumulative strike?
Yeah, that is a cumulative strike. It's only Abdul who did not respond and he gets a strike.
Okay.
Everyone else responded. So you can just see on time, no? Schedule during the session, no? Then maybe available, no? That person is not going to attend, but that person responded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so going to our evaluations and prioritization and our weekly check-ins. I think that, we should spend a little time on the weekly check-ins and review any priorities we have, but then we should really get into our desired outcomes and topics. I'm proposing that we just make our topics, to go over our hard stop priorities, kind of like a super hard stop. So in that context, that instead of using our normal prioritize goals for the session, we would just list all of our hard stop priorities and go through those instead. So that's what I would propose. But anyways, let's get started here. Let's at least do the global weekly check-ins. If you haven't done that, some evaluations, and you can review the prioritization spreadsheet to see if there's anything else we want to add. But for me, the list that I have would just be our list of hard stops.
Yeah, that should be fine.
And then also there's our issues, communication, fear, recruitment, etc., etc. Cool. So let's just take a couple minutes of silence and finish up. All right, could you guys list the hard stops, or you guys still doing the global weekly check-in?
I'm still on global weekly check-in.
Okay, I'm gonna start listing the hard stops. Alvina, are you still doing your global weekly check-in too?
I'm done. I'm on the checking on the previous results for the votes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Right now we're gonna get our agenda together, but yeah, we're gonna start with proposals first for sure, before we get into the other things. I'm gonna go ahead and list all of these priorities here. What does it go to? So it's down to number 12.
Where are we listing in the Aristotle priorities? We list on our today too.
I'm listing the hard stop priorities under the focus of our meeting. I already did it though. All right, so I think that's what I have. So we do each of these like 5 minutes. So are you all done with the evaluations and prioritization and our global weekly check-ins?
Yeah, I'm through the global weekly check-in.
Albina? So do you have desired outcomes for today? Can you put the results of the proposals down in the notes section, please?
Albina, she's on mute.
Yeah.
Sorry, I put it under the results proposals.
Yeah, but we should probably be putting that in the notes section if it's possible to do that.
Okay, I'll just copy paste on there.
Okay. Is there any other desired outcomes? So obviously we want to review and certify the proposals from voting forms. Any other desired outcomes? I have going over the hard stop priorities. The super hard stop, reviewing issues concerning team members and address them, and discuss recruitment and next steps if we get to that. And then obviously going over the proposals. Are there any other desired outcomes? Are there any other focus for the meeting?
No, I don't have one.
So do we have agreement? Is there any objections to our desired outcomes and focus?
I agree.
Are there any objections to our desired outcomes and focus? No. So we have agreement. Okay. So now we would go on to our schedule. Oh, did we ever do our stretch break? I feel like we skipped our stretch break. How'd that happen?
We didn't stretch.
Yeah, you mentioned it, and then I was
no,
going
let's
to
just
finish
wait for we go for 5 minutes.
Okay, but remember, we're also going to be doing our 15-minute pauses. So we do a 15-minute breath, right? So a 3.5-minute ping, 3 to 4 minute ping, 7.5-minute pause, 15-minute breath, 30-minute stretch.
30 minutes or 30 seconds.
And then top of our break. Okay.
You mean we stretch for 30 minutes there or 30 seconds?
At the bottom of the hour. All right. So this would be quarter hour. You guys understand or do you not understand?
I do.
So Is there anything that I can do to help make sure that happens? Or should I try to set a timer or do something else? Or eventually I want to set it all up on IFTT so it's automated, but
what do you mean by 7.5 pause?
every 7.5 minutes, halfway between the quarter hours, so this would be 1/16 hour. We do a 10 second or 5-second pause, and then the ping is just like 1 second reminder. That makes sense? So every 3 to 4 minutes we would be like, okay, we're at it's like a ping, right? It's like every 3 to 4 minutes we're just checking in as we're halfway through the pause in the next section. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's just trying to keep track of our human rhythms. So for now, I think we should just take our break, and then when we get back, we'll do the rest of the schedule.
Yeah.
Come at the top of the car. Will come at the top of the 5-minute break.
Yeah, well, we could take a 5-minute break and then start at the top of the hour.
Okay.
Plus, we forgot our bottom of the hour stretch, so it seems like it's good to just do our break now so that we don't forget.
I'm back.
All right, let's get started here. Just to remind you all, like, when we're doing the notes, we always want to refresh here so we get all the sections of the notes organized correctly. In terms of, oh, and who's doing video indexing? You have someone doing video indexing? Video indexing, Lucy.
Lucy, are you doing video indexing?
So in terms of scheduling for session, let's try to wrap up by 7 America's time, and then end by 7:30. I think that would give us like an hour.
Okay.
All right. So let's do upcoming sessions, Cobalt Dynamic. Although these might change times. So we also have the voting forms. The new world and old world. Okay.
Okay.
So technically this is new world / Cobalt, and this is old world / Dynamic. So then we have the seasonal session coming up. And then the full moon, which is exciting. Venus coming up right after that. Last quarter moon, Earth, and then new moon. So it's quite a packed next few weeks. Are there any questions about the schedule?
No.
Unfortunately, we're not prepared for pretty much any of these, seasonal, Venus, Earth. But what are you gonna do? Hopefully in the next month or so we can get organized. We're not looking so good. I think pretty much our only hope of getting organized and getting our stuff together is recruiting some new people who can help us. It's just I don't think it's gonna happen. Otherwise, we're just a mess. All right, so we're going to proposals. So for our proposals, we've got the Mercury session. Well, it's actually Mercury and quarter moon sessions, right? And then we've got the new moon. All right. So do you want to go through it?
Yeah. Do what?
So we're going through the proposals.
Yes, can I go through? The first one is the Surfing Accountability Commission. That's plasma in every main session. That's 7. passes with 7. Second one is to make overall ranking, evolution of rankings based on what rankings are available. They constantly need to be updated and evolved by the leadership. 6 doesn't pass.
I get a 6. I get a 7 on that one.
7?
Yes. I think it does pass.
Okay. Yep. Another proposal is always distribute actual value at the beginning of every main session based on value distribution policies.
Wait. Before we go on, can we do these one at a time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll do one at a time and we'll do them all together. So let's, at the bottom here, we have a proposal to certify results from the Mercury/Quarterman vote. So it's like all proposals pass except that. All right. So does this first one look good? To bring the new section of the agenda that is approved? Are there any issues with that?
What is MBE staffing?
MBE staffing is for membership board executive staffing, and it also includes Plasmo. And so we're going to have a section. Right now, we're just going to put it after proposals, where we review any MBE staffing and Plasmo needs. That make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So is Lucy back yet, or is she just not here?
I'm
Okay, so does this first proposal? This first proposal look good? Are there any concerns with the first proposal? All right, so I think we're good on that one. So then the next one is the overall ranking. So this one would simply make it so we always have an overall rankings available, because right now we've been really bad at our rankings. Are there any questions on this proposal or concerns or issues? Lucy, Albina?
No, from my side, no.
Okay, so everyone's fine. This one passing? All right, continue, Albina.
To always distribute actual value at the beginning of every main session based on value distribution policy.
Okay.
Any concern, any question?
So it looks like that one passes as well.
The 7. Another proposal.
And this one also, like Lucy voted really low on it. So Lucy, did you have any questions or concerns about that one? So this one is just like we went over the value this today. It's just doing network equity, team equity, making sure that we're distributing value. Eventually, we'll actually be distributing tokens as well. Does that make sense, Lucy?
Yes.
Did you have any concerns or anything? Are you okay? I can barely hear you.
Lucy, we can't hear you. Very strong.
I have no question.
Okay. All right, so that one's good. Keep going.
Another proposal is to make overall global equity tokenization models based on current offer of between 1 million to 2 million over 4 years for first world full time. Jay, can you expound on that, please?
Oh, this is just doing our proposals for overall global equity tokenization. Yeah, so this is just making sure that that our equity values are correct. But it's more than just the forward. There's all the different levels. So in the details, it showed the different levels. Your guys' level will be 250,000 a year for the different equity distribution levels. And then that would automate it so that even as cost of living goes up, it would be based on jurisdiction. So, so in terms of this one, and just so you know, like we weren't getting, like we want to get the numbers right. So this first one's 7.1. And then all the other ones are actually in the sixes. So this is 6.8. Proposal 2,
how come
6.8.
You changed the votes?
No, you guys just didn't average them correctly. You just averaged to significant figures, but we like to do 2 significant figures. So this one's 6.6, and then we have 6.8.
And how come it was 7?
What? It just averaged up. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So to initiate new timekeeping. All right. 6.6. So I mean, technically these all barely pass. So barely passes. Barely passes. You know, so eventually we're going to want to review all of these policies to make sure that we still like them. Okay.
Okay.
But they do all pass, which is fine. So any questions on the, so we already went through the timekeeping session. So it's the 3 to 4 minute ping. Which we're doing terrible on, by the way. Who's timekeeper again? Maybe we need more people on timekeeping.
I'm timekeeper.
So just to review for the time.
Because I don't know more about this timekeeping. I don't want to mess the session.
Okay, well we'll go through it again. So so basically to break this out, so this would be for the timekeeper. So remember, for timekeeper, there's always 3 different times going on. So we really need more than one timekeeper, ideally, because it's a lot. So there's 3 different things. One is the overall hour, and this is constant. So it's always the same, which is one of the things that's really good about it, is that it's always exactly the same every hour, never changes, right? Then you have the overall session wrap up, which is, you know, at 7, so we have 45 minutes left. And then you have individual agenda items. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we always do like 5 to 10 minutes, you know. So for proposals, ideally we would get through the proposals in 5 to 10 minutes. So you guys, whoever's timekeeping, should keep track of that. Okay, how long have we been spending on proposals? Is it over 5 minutes or not? So for the overall hour, we break up the hour into, you know, 3.75, right? So if you do 1 hour, 60 minutes divided by 3.75, you get 16. So this is going to be 1/8 hour, and you have 1/16 hour. So that means you're going to have 16 individual pings during the hour. So the first one would happen at, you know, at 03 or 04. Does that make sense?
I don't understand 1/16 how. 1/16. What does that mean?
1/16 hour.
And 1-8.
It's 3 to 4 minutes.
Oh,
Okay, so at you know 6:03 or 6:04, you say ping, right? This is the same thing. It's like similar to 2 minutes left, right? So during an agenda item, you would say 2 minutes left, right? So you do 1 minute at time, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Does that make sense?
yes.
So this one, you just say ping. That's it. It's just a ping to remind us that we're 1/16 of an hour has gone by. Does that make sense? And you could even do a noise. Like if we had a noise, we could do a ping noise or whatever. It doesn't matter. But the point is that we do ping at 3 or 4. Okay. So then at 0:07 or 0:08, we do a pause. It'd be like 5-second pause. So the timekeeper would say pause. We're at pause. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So then at 15. We do a breath. So we're 2 minutes past already. So we actually missed it. Wait, I missed something here. So at 7, 8, so it'd be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or I think it would be 11, right? 11 or 12, I guess you could do 12. You would do another ping. Okay, so it's ping, pause, ping, breath, right? And then you would add another, so then it would be 18 or 19. It would be another ping. And then you would add 22 or 23 would be a pause. And then 26 or 27 would be a ping. And then at 30, you have our stretch break. That makes sense? So ping, pause, ping, breath, ping, pause, ping, stretch. That make sense?
Yes.
So then you'd have 33 or 34 would be another ping. 37 or 38 would be a pause. All right, so let's do our breath real quick since we're already 3 minutes over on that. So we just all exhale and then we inhale together. And then we exhale together and we just relax. So it's just a quick breath together to refocus us and remember that we're all actual human beings, that it's not just constant work. All right, so now we're at our ping. And so then in another 3.5 minutes, we do a quick pause to remind us. So this is going to create a constant 1/16 of an hour. It's like a beat. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this should actually help all of our other timekeeping. All right, so from here you'd have, this would be 41 or 42. 2 is going to be a ping, and then at 45, you have our breath, and you've got 40, 48 or 49, ping. And you've got 52 or 53.
Pause.
Would be our pause. Then you've got 56 or 57. We have our ping, and then at 00, we've got our 5-minute break. So it's good to note here that this could be ping or a break. So I would just say that you really only have 15. So, because at the 55 point, you could just break. But obviously, if we don't break by then, we're going to be breaking at the 5-minute break. And then we would be missing the first ping. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you're either going to miss the last ping or the first ping per hour because of the break. And then we come back and then, you'd have pause, ping, breath, ping, pause, ping, stretch, ping, pause, ping, breath, ping, pause, ping, break. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this to the session timekeeping position on the what's it? Meeting roles and responsibilities doc. Can you guys do that?
Okay.
And you can also do this one too. And then this should help you. So if you have this, basically you're just looking at it. So right now it's 6:21, and we look here at 22 or 23, we do pause. So in 1 or 2 minutes, you'd be saying it's pause. Can you do that, Lucy? Oh, look, we're at 6:22 as well. So now we would pause, right? So pause here is 5 seconds, right? So we do 5-second pause.
So now we are
wait. So to do the pause, we actually have to wait 5 seconds. So we're just going to wait for 5 seconds, and then we can continue, okay? So just a quick 5-second pause. Okay, now Lucy. Yeah, we're at the 22 mark. So we're right here, the pause.
Pause, yeah.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is as we get into this rhythm, it's going to take a little time to get used to it. But the reason why we're doing this very structured time system is because it's the only constant time. All of our other time, including our overall session wrap up and our individual agendas, is constantly changing, right? So that it's really hard to keep time, but this should be very easy to keep time because it's always exactly the same every single minute. So every single hour. So we know every 3 to 4 minutes, it's a ping. So it's like it keeps us in a rhythm so that we can keep track of the time as we go through the session. Okay.
Pause.
We already did the pause.
Yeah, that 23.
Well, we would do the pause at 22 or 23, and we did the 5-second pause already. So the next one would be a ping at 26 or 27. It would just be like a quick ping reminding us that we're halfway to our stretch, and then we would do our stretch 3 to 4 minutes after that. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome. All right. We'll get used to it over time. It'll take us a little time to get used to it. But the nice thing about this and the reason we're doing it is because it reminds us that we're human and that we need to take care of ourselves, and it gives us a rhythm so that like a 1/16 hour rhythm so that we're always constantly keeping track of time so that we don't lose track. So we don't hear ourselves pinging and checking in, then we know that there's a problem with all of our timekeeping, let alone that time. All right, so we're back to our proposals, Albina. Again, I don't think that they're orange. Orange represents, we could at least make them yellow, which would mean moving forward slowly on them, but and we'll review later. But they're green. They do technically pass. Remember, anything that's above a 6.5 on our official score passes. 6.5 or above rounds up to a agreed proposal.
Okay, the other proposal is straw poll to make the minimum internal bus land hours.
So it looks like the most votes is for 1 hour. So again, It's not 1 hour. It is 1 hour of time is equal to 2 to 3 hours of work. So, so on this one, proposal 1 hour is equal to 2 to 3 hours of work, 1 hour of time. Okay.
I did not understand that proposal.
So, so this would be 1 hour of buddy team time is equal to 2 to 3 hours of individual work, right? Because there are 2 to 3 people working together for the 1 hour. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Lucy?
I'm trying to understand.
So if we do a buddy team session for 1 hour, right? The time is 1 hour of time, right? But we have to charge and pay people 2 to 3 hours of work, because if there's 2 people there, it's actually 2 hours, even though at 1 hour, like right now, 1 hour is 3 hours, because all 3 of us are actively working together as a buddy team. So every hour that goes by is actually 3 hours of work. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the proposal is 1 hour of time is 2 to 3 hours of work. Well, that would mean that in order to do 1 hour of work, it would need to be 0.33 hours of time to be equal to 1 hour of work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So what this would mean is that, let's say people were working at, let's say $3 per hour. That's about what you guys are doing. So that would mean that this would be, for 2 people at $3 an hour would be $6 to $9 per hour, right? Does that make sense? Times 5x, which is going to equal 6 times 5 is $30. And then 9 times 5 is 45. Okay, so $30 to $45 would be the minimum allowed for internal bus budgets. That make sense?
Yeah.
So do you guys agree with that proposal?
So that means we should not work more than 3 hours during the session?
No, it means that when we go to our budget for the potential income, right? So we could have, for example, the Earth session or, you know, J support or whatever, that could be $30, right? That $30 would be the minimum, right? So you shouldn't be working if there is a budgeted session, or you know, budgeted umbus pool for client work, right? Umbus client work. And if it's only $30, you should only do 1 hour of work in a buddy team per month. Does that make sense?
We are at the bottom of the hour.
Okay, so we're gonna do our stretch. Does that make sense, Lucy?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So do we like this proposal? Are we certifying it?
What if we are many now? Let's say we all turn up for the session.
It would be buddy teamwork. In buddy teamwork, you can only have 2 to 3 people. All right, let's do our stretch. So we're all gonna stand up and stretch and bounce.
Okay.
Should we continue?
We do our 30-second stretch. It's only been.
We are still on stretching, Albert.
Yeah. 30 seconds is still on. 1 minute.
30 seconds. That was 20 seconds. We still have 5 seconds left.
Okay.
All right. So So the proposal would be 1 hour of time, which is equal to 2-3 hours of work, would be our minimum, which works out to $30 to $45 would be our minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys agree with that? Do you think that that looks correct?
Yeah.
Right. So let's say we wanted 2 hours of work, then we would need to do like a $60 budget. You know?
Yeah.
But that helps me when I'm budgeting and I'm going through. You know, I shouldn't be putting anything smaller than like, you know, 30, 40, 50 bucks. Because anything smaller than that just wouldn't meet our minimums for the time. So then this would be an additional proposal, okay?
Okay.
So 30 to $45 per hour. And so $30 to $45 would represent 1 hour of time.
Yeah.
So this is a proposal for the next. I'll also put it down here for new proposals, but this would be a proposal for the next voting form. Okay.
Okay.
But we are approving this right now. Does anyone have any objection? Do you guys have any questions?
No.
Concerns, none, and objections? No. Okay. So this passes by consensus, but we're still going to put it in the voting form. All right. Two more proposals.
Two more. The second last one is for evolving our strikes to include confirmed schedule for beginning of session and confirmed scheduled workers.
Cool. So this one is actually a 6.89. Does anyone have any concerns with this?
We are at ping.
Oh, we're pinging. Perfect. That is exactly what we want right there. Perfect. That's our first ping, Lucy. Good job. Whoop, whoop. All right. So are there any questions or concerns about this proposal? And we're already doing this, so this is going to work well. And thank you for being here on time today. That was perfect. And ideally, there's always at least one person who shows up. Well, actually, we want 2 people to show up on time for all sessions. Otherwise, you know, everybody would get a strike if nobody's scheduled to be there on time. Okay, so proposal, we want to do the last one?
Yeah, to remove Zona, Teresa, Mamun, and Abdul from the budget.
So obviously, Abdul, Zonad, and others didn't like the proposal and voted very low on it. Overall, with our new budget model, with the time budget, we should be okay, even if we can't remove people from the budget, because we can leave them in the budget at very low values if they're not really working and doing much. Okay.
Why should we leave them? Since Abdul was saying, I was asking Abdul, why are you not getting involved? And he said, Gwen is not promising. So it means that that person is not willing to help us. Because they entered in the budget, we expect them to help us, at least to do something. We, all of us, contribute, even if it is joining one day session, you come, at least we can do some other things like ranking and other stuff. We can move forward. Like now, really stuck because we are not all cooperating. There is no need of keeping them. Let's just get the recruitment as they are doing. Then we can get other people.
Yeah, but again, the focus.
Abdul was saying, Zonat, he might not come back. That was also what is coming from Abdi. I think, Albina, you remember when he said Zonat is not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Abdul has been involved for a long time, and it's, you know, very sad to see him not be interested in continuing. You know, but that's one of the reasons why we're not organized and not really stepping up, because, you know, people aren't doing the work. So, but the focus should be on removing people from the budget. Our focus should be on adding people to the budget. So if we want any hope of actually getting everything functional, we need to add people to the budget and do recruitment, which is our #1 biggest problem right now. I mean, we're not doing that. You know, so as we add people, they will just obviously replace the old people who aren't doing the work.
I think we have team that working on recruitment. Am I wrong?
No one's doing recruitment. Oh my God, I'm doing like 90% of all the recruitment, and it's a complete mess. Like we're basically, it's a bunch of brand new people who aren't doing anything, right? So like the idea that everything's getting done for you is never ever true. I don't know why people keep saying that. It doesn't make any sense.
So we don't have an independent team?
Yes, there's an independent recruitment team, but that doesn't mean that recruitment just magically getting done. That's not how it works. We're the only 3 people here. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right. So we can talk more about recruitment later, but it's a huge problem. I mean, no, I don't see, like, we're going to be going into recruitment hard stop on the 1st of January. So, and it should have happened at the new moon, but we pushed it to the 1st of January to give us a little extra time. Anyways, let's do this proposal. So the proposal would be to certify the results from the Mercury quarter moon votes, all except the last proposal. Pass. The last proposal was to remove people from the budget, so we're not removing them from the budget. Okay, so is there any questions about the proposal? Are there any concerns?
Can we do that proposal in future just if they are not going to be involved any longer? Because we cannot keep people in the budget who can't even.
This proposal is automatic. So whoever is lowest in the rankings, which would be Zonat, Teresa, Mamouna, Abdul, because they're getting lots of strikes and not communicating and not helping, right? They automatically are proposed to be removed from the budget. It's an automatic proposal because they're ranked so low. Okay?
Because their strikes are going over 10.
No. It has nothing to do with their strikes going over 10. It's that they have the highest number of strikes. So if you had people who had strikes, if you only had 3 strikes and you had more strikes than everybody else, at 3 strikes, you would be proposed to be removed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So whoever has
but Zonat is not going to get involved. This is what Abdul said. You do not even focus on Zonat.
Okay, well, I don't know why you're focusing on him. I'm done with that. So I'm ready to focus on recruitment.
Yeah.
So right now I'm trying to focus on our proposals. So the proposal is to certify the results from the Mercury and quarter moon votes. All proposals pass except for the last one. All right. So there's no questions, concerns, any objections? No. Okay. So this passes by consensus. So just to note, it's important that this is a decision that we're certifying the results. And so technically speaking, this would also go, like if we do everything correctly based on our policies, the certification of the results would also go on the voting form. So it would be like the proposal on the voting form would be to certify the previous voting form's voting results. And then you would give the chance for everyone who didn't attend to certify them as well. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's move on. Albina, do you want to do the next ones? So Newman.
Yeah. We are at P.
Oh, actually, we're supposed to do a pause. Did we miss our pause?
41.
We missed pause.
Okay, so
We
let's just
missed
do,
pause.
we're just gonna do a 5-second pause. All right. So we've
Okay.
missed our ping, so the next one we're do a breath. All right, so Albina. Newman.
New moon. The first one is to slow down overall and push back all global sessions, one planet or lunar session to reduce workload. 6.5 barely passes.
Yeah, but it does pass, technically speaking. So does that sound good? Slowing down everything? Everyone think that one's okay?
May I explain it a bit? Slowing down how? We are not, does that mean we are not going to attend some session?
No, I mean,
We
basically,
pick a few sessions.
I don't know if we have the link from the new moon, but basically what this would do would be the following. Let's see here. Oh, so annoying, dude. I'm just gonna go down here and put it as a separate section. So this would be our new global structure. New global network structure. So again, this would change the network equity. So what I was thinking is that we would go to, so let's do old and new. So old, and then it goes to new, right? So currently it's steering team, right? So steering team goes from quarter moon to new/full moon. Okay, that makes sense? So then quarter moon would become life support, and it would be like a buddy team to group session. And then eighth moon would stay the same, which would be co-chair buddy team. Then you would have your global core team goes from new/full moon to Mercury session. Does that make sense?
Now, like when we have new moon, new stroke full moon, we change the session into Mercury for management.
Currently the management team is Mercury session, so the management team would go from Mercury to, I think we would just put it to seasonal. I think seasonal would be the best way to do it, because we would do that to seasonal session. And so we would be doing once a quarter, we would do management. Then the Venus session would stay the same. So then you'd have executive would be Venus, and then Bouncel would be Earth.
So new moon and full moon will be steering team. So what about quarter moon? Is it going to be just doing normal body team session?
No, I'm proposing that the quarter moon would be a life support session. It would be a group session on worker support. So personnel support, and life support, or Resource Support Alliance. So for example, that would be the quarter moons would be when we would focus on Lucy and talk about Lucy's organization that she wants to start and sponsorship for that. Like that would be the time where we would talk about, what are your priorities and goals, and making sure that we're helping each worker be organized. Because right now our workers are not organized. We need more space and time to just focus on each worker to help them get their goals set up, their priorities, their responsibilities. That make sense?
Yeah, I think that will help also.
Definitely, right? And then the other proposal that goes along with that, right? So this would be the new structure. And we could push the management team to the Venus session if we wanted to, but that would be 3 times a year. So I'm proposing that the seasonal session would become the management team, because I think that would be 4 times a year. I think would be good. And then we keep the Venus 3 times, Bouncil Earth, and then Mars would be membership. So we still have an annual membership meeting. Do you think that sounds good?
Yeah, my question is on new moon, full moon. So both the new moon and full moon is going to be starting team, or just new moon only?
Both new and full moon.
What about the time for discussing the budget?
The budget would be overseen by the steering team instead of the global core team.
Okay.
So you'd still do monthly budget, but the monthly budget would be reviewed by the steering team instead of the global core team. And overall, we'd be wanting to go to quarterly budget, so the seasonal session might become a quarterly budget review, right? So the quarterly budgets are, like my goal is that our monthly budget process, it becomes much simpler, and that the majority of the budget process happens quarterly, and then monthly we're just doing quick updates to it, and then we only do like a full budget process once a quarter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that would be the management team would oversee the budget, the quarterly budget.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so that's the slowdown. And it does change. This will also change various soft hard stop frequencies and timelines and all that stuff. So then the next proposal that didn't pass would be to evolve the different buddy teams and do for the quarter moons. Like, I'm pretty sure we should be able to pass this. I'm not sure exactly why it didn't pass. Let's take a look. 6s, 7s, 8s. So Lucy, you voted really low on this one. So maybe you just didn't understand. So
yeah, I did not understand. In fact, all the proposal I didn't understand. If you check it well, I did not vote it well, except the last proposal for multimedia that I understand.
Okay, yeah. So in the context of this one, and you should have watched the new moon session because we went over them all in detail, but we can go over them all right now. This is what it's for. So for the buddy team sessions in the beginning of the quarter moons, right, we're talking about this new model. So the quarter moons would become ping. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
We're still getting used to it. We'll keep going better. So the quarter moons become the personnel support. So the idea is the first half of quarter moons would be buddy teams. Okay. So you would start the first half of the quarter moon as buddy teams, and then you would move into the full group for the second half. So then the second half of quarter moons would be a group session. right? So this would be the sort of dividing line between the group sessions and the buddy teams, right? So quarter moon would be half buddy team, half group session. Then steering, then, you know, full moons, new moons, Mercury sessions, and everything else would all be group sessions, right? But then before that, 8th moons and then 1/16 moons would be buddy team sessions. That make sense?
Yes.
So in this proposal, the idea would be that for the 16th moon, the 8th moon would stay with co-chair. So the 8th moons basically stay the same, but the 16th moon would be personnel support. So this would be buddy team sessions for personnel support. Okay.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that during 16th moons, for anyone who can attend it, your buddy team should be focused on organizing.
16th moon in future to be for training people who want to know the priorities that they don't understand?
No, that's what you do during like quarter moons, you know, full moons, new moons, Mercury session, right? Is the training, right? The buddy team session is getting people organized, right? So it's like if they don't even know what their responsibilities and priorities are, and they don't know what responsibility organizing is or how to create a responsibility organizing link. Oh, we got to pause. Okay, I'm gonna do 5-second pause. All right, so the point here is that this is where you get organized. This is where you get your list of responsibilities and your lists of goals. Does that make sense? So you help your workers through personnel support to get them organized. And you continue that during the 8th moon, except the co-chairs need to focus on getting the whole organization organized, right? Because the co-chairs are focused on the bigger picture. And then for the quarter moon, you start with the buddy teams and then come together as a group to do our, you know, a group personnel support and support lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it'll substantially change how the quarter moons, 8th moons are going to stay pretty much the same, but 16th moons would have a different focus than a normal buddy team would be focused on work, whereas 16th moons is a little bit more focused on getting organized. Okay, so yeah. I think that's pretty cool. And the only major difference would be the seasonal session. We would be adding in the seasonal session for the management team as opposed to pushing the management team to the Venus session. So does this all seem good?
Earth session, you forget to put
Bouncel's Earth session right here. Mars is membership session. Ceres is Legion, and then Jupiter is beyond Legion. So this would basically be like an event. So Jupiter would be like our big event, or one of the biggest. So does this make sense? Are we on the same page here?
Yes.
Are you okay with the evolving the buddy teams and the quarter moons and 16th moons?
Yes.
Okay, so co-chairs would more or less stay the same, but we would help get workers organized, especially with client work, right? Because at the co-chair is when we do the client work check-in, right? Actually, it's not just client work, client and billable work. And billable work. So Lucy, do you want to change your vote from the 4?
Yes.
Where do you want to vote?
7.
7. All right. So then that should pass at 6.833. So 6.8. That barely passes now. Okay, Albina, do you want to go on?
Yeah. The next proposal is to initiate a rule whereby every level of the organization must make clear goals, including individual workers and high-level individual positions.
Cool.
Verses 7.167.
Great. So let's go over that real quick. So the 16th moon would be the centaur center center goals, right? And it'll be a weekly check-in, a weekly report. Okay. So then the co-chairs do 8th moon goals. So these would be the co-chair goals, and a report every 2 weeks. All right.
Yeah, even we had that proposal. Co-chairs, they should write a report.
Yeah. So the center does a weekly report. The co-chairs are going to do a report every 2 weeks. The quarter moon, I guess there doesn't need to be, I mean, this would be a life support. This would be a personnel support and life support check-in. Would happen monthly. Steering team would be monthly here. So this would be the senior octant managers goals, and this would be every month report. Then you've got your global core team. So this is for the Mercury sessions. Every individual worker gives goals and reports each Mercury session. So before it was only managers did goals and reports at the Mercury session. So now the Mercury session is every individual worker is going to have a goal and going to do a report on their previous goal, right? So during the 16th moons and the 8th moons and the quarter moons, we're helping support all of the workers to build their goals, right? But then they're required and due at the Mercury session. That make sense?
Yes.
So then you have the management report at the seasonal sessions. And again, we're also going to be doing goals, report and goals. And then executive would be Venus. And then once you get into Earth, Mars, right, this is plasma. And even Venus, there might be some, so this would be executive reporting, which includes Centaur co-chairs. So co-chairs are going to be reporting every 2 weeks, but they also would be doing an executive report. And then Plasmo is going to be reporting on Mars and Legion and beyond, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is our new global network structure.
No, see now that we have Earth coming soon. So are we now allowed to have on Plasma to make a report that we can present during Earth session?
No. Plasma is not soft stop or hard stop. Right now we're on hard stop, so we have to focus on our hard stop priorities.
5 minutes on break.
Oh yeah, so let's take a 5-minute break. Wait, were there any questions on this proposal for the organizational reporting?
Jay, where can I index this information on new global network structure and reporting?
So this is going to get indexed into the main doc. So this is the SKMP network main doc. Okay.
Okay.
So we rarely talk about things that affect the actual main community network. So this is a substantial proposal, and this affects like the actual core structure of the organization. So right now we are in a quarter moon, and we're doing a steering team, but this is going to be the last steering team meeting that ever happens during a quarter moon. So at the next quarter moon, we'll be doing support alliance. Okay. And then if we go back up to our up here to our schedule, if we change our schedule around, the seasonal session will be a management, right? The full moon will be the steering team. So what happens at the full moon is that we'll actually have an additional steering team meeting. So today is a steering team meeting. We'll be doing another steering team meeting at the full moon, except instead of it being valued at 7 days, it'll be valued at 14 days. Okay. Then the Venus session will stay the same. It'll be executive. And then the last quarter moon will be support alliance. All right. That makes sense?
Yes.
So this will be Bouncel, and then this will be steering for the new moon session. So new moon and full moon would be steering. So this particular month, we're going to have 3 steering team meetings this 1 month. Okay. And then that would also reflect in our network equity and our team equity for the steering team. That make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let's take our 5-minute break. And then when we get back, we have a few more proposals. And it looks like, we're probably, are we okay pushing back another half an hour or hour to keep going through this? Because we're doing a lot of important stuff. And even hearing things like that about Abdul, it's just like, I really want to get our stuff, get back organized and get everything back together, because it is very sad that things are not getting better, So let's get through this a little bit more, maybe push back like an hour. So let's do, where is it? Wrap up at 8. And then maybe end by 8:30. So another hour, is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So 5-minute break. We'll be back.
I'm back.
I'm also back.
Okay, I'm ready. So, Albina, do you want to continue with the proposal?
Yes, we are on it. The next proposal is to create comprehensive async protocols starting with each and every topic having its own space for documentation as well as each type of meeting and all its priorities beyond just the top 10. Everything becomes async as well as real time. 6.33.
So, okay, let's do that one. So 6.33.
Oh, I skipped another one.
Well, it's okay. Let's just finish this one since you already did it. So the 6.33, it's actually, looks like, okay, but that wouldn't pass. Let's see who voted low. Lucy. So do you have questions on this proposal? So the async, basically what this means is that every single topic will get its own link. So know how we have every single responsibility gets its own link? Lucy, are you there?
Yeah.
You know how every single responsibility gets its own link? Lucy, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Do you know how every single responsibility gets its own link? You know what I'm talking about or not? Hello, Lucy, I'm asking you a question. I've asked you 3 times. Are you there?
Yes, there, I'm there.
Okay, so my question is, do you understand the concept of every responsibility having its own link? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So our responsibility organizing allows us to asynchronously organize all of our responsibilities so that people know what they're working on. This new async proposal would create every single topic to have its own link. So when every topic has its own link, if we don't have time to discuss it during the sessions, the main sessions, we are still responsible to go through them all asynchronously and organize notes and proposals and documentation and information. Even though it's not a responsibility, it's still really important for the functioning of the network, right? So
Yeah.
for example, for today, we have all of these topics, right? Worker involvement verification, super team budgets, main buddy team verification, soft, hard, soft coordination. So these are all topics that we need to discuss, but we may not have time to discuss them today. So if we don't get through these all, in the past, we just basically don't even address any of it and never happens. The idea is in the future, we would actually create documentation just like our priorities planning doc, except for everything that doesn't get discussed, we would still be discussing it, and that every single topic would have a link so that we can discuss it asynchronously through messaging and communication on the documents. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it'll help organize our topics so that, even when we don't actually get to talk about them and discuss them, we can still at least have the main bullet points of what needs to be done to move forward. And that'll be a requirement. We'll be required to go through all of those asynchronously so that we're not missing really, really important stuff. Okay, so Lucy, do you have any questions?
No.
So that's basically what it is. It's basically every topic will get its own link. And this could take many, I mean, imagine how much work we've done on creating responsibility organizing links, and we're probably still only like 25% complete or less. It might be like 15 to 25% complete, like 20% on all our responsibility organizing links. So it could take years for every topic to have its own link. And we'll constantly be creating new topics, so it never ends. Just the same as responsibilities. We're constantly creating new responsibilities.
So for documentation day on async, is it going to be just one doc with all the topics?
We would create a doc for each level. So like steering team async doc, right? And then you'd have a core team async doc, etc., etc. So every single level would have its own doc, but then beyond that, you would, within each async doc, you would be linking the actual topics would be linked to topic docs. You'd have separate, you would create separate topic docs, which would be organized into the project docs, just like responsibilities. Okay.
Yeah.
And so then the actual topic links would be in the topic docs, where you would link all of the responsibilities. So it's possible that each project would have a topic doc, and that each topic would go under a certain project that would be responsible for that topic. And then you would just keep track of that topic over time as it's addressed asynchronously. So this should help us deal. Oh, and the most important thing is that everything in a meeting that is prioritized above the what is it called? So every topic in a main session prioritized above the backlog would be required to be addressed in the async doc. Does that make sense? So anything that we prioritize above the backlog, we would be required to review in asynchronously as a team. Because I mean, all these things need to be, reviewed. We can't just be ignoring them. It's not okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, but then of course that will be encouraging me for sure to increase how high the backlog would be, to cut out anything that's not a priority. Because if it's not really a priority and it can go in the backlog, then we shouldn't be focusing on it. We should be only prioritizing the things that we actually are able to, review and plan.
Yeah.
All right. So does that make sense, Lucy? Do you want to change your vote on this one? Or
It makes sense.
do you have any other concerns or questions about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Since we need to put all the topics, the links. Is it not going to be a hard work? We need to make everything afresh from beginning.
I don't necessarily feel like it's going to be hard work, but it's going to be really slow work, right? So it's going to take, it'll take a very long time. But for today, we can just create a steering team async doc. In that steering, we're going to do a pause.
No, we are doing breath.
A pause? What?
Not pause, breathe.
Breath, yeah.
A breath. Oh yeah, you're right. We're past the pause. Okay, so everyone exhale. And then inhale. And then exhale together. It's relaxing too. It's nice. But yeah, breathing together is working together and collaborating together. It all comes down to breath in the end. All right, so all we have to do today is create a steering async doc for steering team. So steering team async doc. In that steering team async doc, it'll be exactly like we do for our priorities planning doc. It's exactly the same thing as the priorities planning doc, except instead of the priorities, we can just link the priorities planning doc to that doc. So we always, on all of our async docs, async topic docs, we're going to link the priorities planning doc. And then we just list everything that we didn't talk about. So anything that we don't get to, we're going to list there. And then we're going to review it. Okay?
Yeah. My concern was how is that going to help us and as organization?
Because
Lucy, can I answer?
Yes, I'll be.
It's going to help us because you can see every meeting we are just tackling top 10 topics. Every topic, like we have like 35 topics. Every topic is as important as the top 10. So instead of ignoring the rest, we need to at least keep the information for those topics that come up with us.
Exactly. So typically we only address the top 10. And so for the steering team, we have 32. So all 32 of these topics, except for the, including the backlog, it's actually 33. So the backlog would be included as its own topic. All of these would be like basically 11 through 33 would all be added to the async doc. And then as the centaur, as the co-chairs and the senior section managers would be required, even if there's not time in the sessions, to review. You know, it should be able to happen very quickly. I mean, I'll be able to go through this and spend like 10 or 15 seconds on each one, you know, putting a couple bullet points. Some are going to be more important than others, but we go through them all and make sure it's clear what the plan is and what the steps are moving forward so people can address them as needed. Okay?
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like it's like the 1 minute thing for, like you spend 1 minute on each of the top 10. Right? The idea would be, you know, we're going to spend at least a few seconds on each of the top, you know, everything above the backlog, right? So that there's at least something there, but that's going to happen asynchronously and it won't be able to happen in the meeting because there's just not time. Okay?
Okay.
Does that make sense, Lucy?
Yes.
Oh, great. So, and so we can start that today if we want to, but we could just do it, you know, at the full moon or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But the idea is that we would begin that process, and it's going to take years to get it all the links organized and coordinated. So Lucy, do you want to change your vote on that one?
I'll put 6.5.
A 6.5? Okay. So Lucy at 6.5 brings it up to 7.083.
I think this is the first time you implement a lot of proposal works.
Well, we've gone through proposals, but basically at the end of the new year, I did a big evaluation of everything where we're at and all the different problems we're having. And so I created a whole bunch of proposals to basically change our model so that we could be more functional. So this is basically this is kind of like our goals for the new half year to get us more functional because we still have problems. So, you know, I do that every like quarter, every half year to evaluate everything or review it all and rethink it all to fix. I mean, the biggest problem and the most important proposal is actually the slowing down. Like I went really deep inside and was like meditating on it. I was like, you know, what is the biggest problem? How do we solve all of these problems and get organized to help the world? And the number one thing is that we're just doing too much too quickly. We needed to slow down. Like by slowing down and like taking our time and breathing a little bit more, and structuring things to where we're really taking care of individuals with our life support and our personnel support systems. Like that's really the foundation, right? And so I feel like that is the number one proposal, and then everything else sort of like was based on that. Does that sort of make sense?
Yes.
So by slowing down, we should actually have a lot more time to interact asynchronously, right? Because we won't be as busy doing all that work. We should have time to like go back, review our notes, review all the different topics we don't get to in the meetings, as well as get the other work done and do recruitment and do all these things that we haven't been able to do because we're just too busy. So we need to slow everything down. And hopefully we're slowing down enough. If we do this slowdown process and we're still too busy, we should slow down even more. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, but yeah, we can, you know, for this half year, we could try it out, or at least, you know, for a quarter. Oh, pause. Excellent. So 5-second pause. You're doing really good, Lucy. Very impressive. All right, so let's go backwards. A proposal. Albina?
Yes, there is the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's
The
two
last
more. No, there's two more. We need to go backwards one proposal. We skipped one.
Oh, yeah. I'll go back. The proposal is to increase reporting for all high-level positions. General managers report every seasonal session. Board team every 1.5 months on each worker's individual goals.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I feel like we kind of already passed that. Oh, I see. Okay, so the first proposal was to increase reporting. The second proposal, oh no, clear goals. So the first proposal is to create clear goals. So right now we only create goals. For example, we have the global core team monthly goals. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen is now every single individual and every position is going to be required to have goals. So that means, Lucy, you are now required once every Mercury session to create your own goals. So not only will there be the global core team goals, but there will also be Lucy's goals, and your goals will be documented and published on our documents. So all workers and every worker will have their goals, not just your priorities and responsibilities, but your actual goals. Like, what are you going to achieve over the next month and a half or between Mercury sessions? So for every single global core team worker and general worker must be required to create goals every month and a half. From there, every single position, including executive positions like co-chairs and the centaur, are going to need to be creating goals much more often. So let's write this out because it's really, really important. These goals is super key. So global core team general workers every 1.5 months. Right, so 1.5 months is Mercury. Everybody in the entire global core team has to have goals. Then you have senior sextant managers would be monthly, right? Would be doing monthly goals, individual goals. Then you've got co-chairs is weekly, and then the centaur is twice per week. Okay? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So then the next proposal is to increase the reporting. So we went over the reporting, and it's going to be similar. So every the management will be seasonal. So quarterly, so this will be every 3 months is the managers. So that's the thing that's going to slow everything down. So before it was every 1.5 months for managers. So this is going to cut everything in half. So everything will be going down by, like, you know, the speed level goes down by about half, right? So then senior sextant managers will be 1.5 months will be global core team. Senior sextant managers will be monthly reporting for senior octant managers.
Octant. Do we have sextant? I think octant.
Octant managers, yeah. And the co-chairs will be every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, and then centaur will be weekly. So co-chairs and centers have to do weekly and twice a week goals, but then they only do ping. Nice. They only do reporting every 2 weeks and every week. Okay.
Okay.
But then everybody else does their monthly report and their goals at the same time, and then the whole core team does every month and a half. So this is what that proposal is. So basically, you've got a new goal making, and then the whole idea of the reporting, right? The purpose of reporting is, did you accomplish your goals? Question, yes or no. What will you change? Right, so it's basically you're reporting whether you accomplished your goals and what you did and didn't do. That's the report. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's look at this one. So this is reporting. So Lucy, you were a 3. Do you have any questions, concerns?
I have no question.
Do you want to change your vote?
Yes, 6.
Okay, so that brings us up to a 7. Cool. So now we have a new reporting and goal structure for every single individual and position. So this, this is going to take us a few months to start implementing correctly, but just slowly do it. It'll become part of our policies, okay? And this will be some of our training. So every single new and existing core team member will need to have priorities, responsibilities, and goals. And they'll need to be doing reporting. Okay? All right. So,
can you continue? The last proposal.
Last one.
Multimedia will focus primarily on automated synced communication systems and syndicating information between all platforms.
30-second stretch.
Ooh, nice. All right, let's stretch. Standing up. All right, Albina, do you want to continue?
Yes. The proposal is multimedia will focus primarily on automated sync communication systems and syndicating information between all platforms. Passes with 7.5.
So just to make sure everyone's clear on this, basically in the past we've been focusing a lot on our websites and it didn't really go anywhere and we didn't really like get much out of it. Eventually our websites will be platforms and we will be doing extensive communication on our website platforms, but the actual focus of the multimedia will be not the websites, it'll be basically social media. So all of our communication on Skype will get transferred into our websites, but simultaneously it will go through like Hootsuite. Like we need to get Hootsuite and other programs that are like Hootsuite that can transfer communications between different platforms, like, you know, between Skype and websites and email, and then also sending it onto Facebook, Twitter, and other social media, so that we start getting like we're publicly accountable. We need all of our communications and activities to be public. So I want that to be our primary goal, is to get our communications out into the world, and then this will also be part of our fundraising and outreach and recruitment. And then once we engage the public like that, it should significantly increase our interaction with the world because people will actually start seeing us. Okay? And then from there, we can get our website set up and then organize all that communication on the websites as well. But we just need to be connecting the information itself and syndicating the information out regardless of whether our websites are up. Our websites should be secondary to being publicly accountable. Okay?
Yeah.
And all that's pretty easy to do. We should be able to do that, like, you know, in a maybe like 10 hours, less than 10 hours of work. Should be able to get basically all of our communication systems publicly accountable. All right, so the proposal is to certify the results from the quarter moon vote. All proposals pass. Ping, thank you. All proposals pass. Is that correct? All proposals pass. Yes.
Yeah.
So are there any questions about the proposal? None. Are there any concerns? None. Are there any objections? None. Okay, so this passes by consensus. So again, this will also be part of our new proposals that we would also want to propose that. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Make sure this is all organized. All right, so does anyone else have any new proposals, or should I go ahead and do the new proposals? Okay, so no one else has to propose. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 new proposals here, although one of them's kind of already existing. Implement existing policy. So I don't even know if I like this.
Are also certified results going to be part of the new proposals?
Yes, the certifying results, if we're going to follow our policies correctly, we would always, like, this is a decision that we made during the session, so then it would be put on the voting form, and so that people can vote to certify the results of the previous votes that they all voted on. Okay?
Yeah.
If we're doing it correctly, that's the way it should be done. So all of these proposals that we had from before, so we have 1, 2, 3, right, that we already covered. Those should all come first, and then at the end of the voting form, there are 4 additional proposals that we could review real quick. Should we go through these real quick?
Yeah.
So the first one, I don't even know if I'm going to pass, but we have a day off once per month. And this is the 29th day of the moon month, right? So we could, and the reason why that's a day off is because over the course of the moon month, based on the selling hours, you accumulate a difference of 1 full day between the actual end of the normal day versus the whole quarter moon, full moon, right? So there's a 6-hour difference between a Selene week and the quarter moon. Does that make sense? So if you have 4 weeks, it's 6 hours times 4 equals 1 entire day. And that's the extra day off, right? So what happens is that the first 6 hours is the first week. The second 6 hours, so when you have a full moon, you have a half day between the end of the day of the second week and the beginning of the full moon, right? And then you have 18 hours. And this also comes in, especially towards the end of the month, where people get the Selene dates all confused because you get off by an entire, almost 3/4 of a day. You're off, right? And then by the end, you're a full day off, right? And then you get your day off. So this proposal would basically say that we would close down more than just once per month. We would close down for 6 hours the first week, 12 hours the second week, 18 hours the third week, and then 24 hours the fourth week. So if you add it all up, it would be 24 plus 18 plus 12 plus 6 is be about 60 hours. So the FQN community network would basically close for about 60 Selene hours per week. Again, these are Selene hours and not Are you still there, Lucy?